All right, people, originally I was gonna gatekeep this recipe because it's the recipe that we use for mac and cheese at my restaurant in Washington, D.C. But it's the holiday season, I'm in the mood for giving, so you guys are getting the best damn mac and cheese recipe on the internet. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. All right, guys, when it comes to mac and cheese, everybody thinks that they have the best recipe. Everybody has a family member that makes good mac and cheese. It's one of the most highly disputed or debated items or recipes, food items on the internet. This recipe right here is very simple, but I don't want to say perfect because there's always things that you can do to tweak it, but it's well balanced, let's put it that way. We have 4 cheeses. We're using mozzarella, we're using cheddar, Colby Jack, and smoked Gouda. You can replace those with whatever you want, but one of the best rules of thumb is that you don't want to have multiple of the same flavor profile. So you don't want to have multiple sharp cheddars, you don't want to have multiple smoky flavors. You want to have one of each. So choose the rotation or the selection of cheeses that you like, but try to have something creamy, something that's going to melt nicely for the top, which is Colby Jack in this case, something sharp, and then you can do smoky or spicy, whatever you like. We're also using cream cheese for this recipe. We're using 3 cups of heavy cream and 1 cup of milk. And then most importantly, the pasta shape is one of my favorites. It's called Pipette Rigate, which is basically similar to a shell, but one end is closed. So it's basically like a cup for that delicious sauce that we're about to make. I'm gonna go ahead and salt our water. I'm using chicken bouillon for that, but you can use just regular salt if you want to. We're gonna grate our cheeses. That way we don't have any anti-caking agents involved. The cheese sauce will be nice and smooth. And then we're gonna season it up. All right, guys, when you add your pasta to the boiling water that's already been heavily seasoned, you don't need to add any oil or anything like that. Oil and water don't mix. It's just gonna sit at the top of your pot. You wanna go ahead and give it a good stir. 1 or 2 times will prevent the pasta from sticking together. Then you're gonna go ahead and drain it. At that point, pasta can't stick together if it sits for too long, so then you could add a little oil if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just a little rinse under some cold water will prevent the pasta from sticking together too bad. And then we're gonna go ahead and finish grating our cheese while the pasta cooks and then get started on the sauce. Now, a lot of debate online about roux versus egg. This recipe has neither. No roux, no egg, no worries. We got a half a stick of butter in here. We're gonna let that melt. Going in with 3 cups of heavy cream, 1 cup of whole milk. We're gonna season this with some paprika, some chicken bouillon powder, my all-purpose seasoning, or just a little salt and pepper. I'm also gonna use my buttery garlic pepper seasoning, which is phenomenal on things like mac and cheese. But again, if you don't have that, just use whatever you have in the house that you like as far as seasoning goes. Don't over season it though, because you want to taste it and adjust as needed. A lot of different cheeses have a high sodium content, so you want to season a little bit more heavily after the cheese is already mixed in. That way you don't over salt your sauce. We have our butter melted. We're going in with the cream and milk. We'll bring that to a simmer. Add in our cream cheese. Once the cream cheese is fully melted, I'm gonna turn the heat as low as possible. Depending on your setting of your stove, you may even want to turn it off. One of the key mistakes people make when they make mac and cheese is they add the cheese all at once and the liquid is way too hot. That's going to cause the cheese to clump together, stick together, and then the oil and fat to separate, leaving you with an oily cheese sauce or maybe even something that you can't even emulsify. So you want to turn the heat off, low heat, add the cheese in a little bit at a time. That's the key. All right, so we've gone ahead and added the cream cheese. I've killed the heat completely. You really never want this to reach a boil, just to simmer, get it hot enough to melt that cream cheese. You could also use Velveeta if that's your thing. Really, it's not there for the flavor, it's more there for the emulsification properties. Another thing that's a really good option, if you can find it, is block American cheese because it has a sodium citrate in it, which I'll spare you all the science stuff, but basically it helps everything emulsify and make a smooth sauce. Cream cheese does something similar, that's why I use it in this recipe. But if you can go to the deli counter and ask them for American cheese, that would be a great addition because it's gonna add more flavor than the cream cheese. This is how I do it at the restaurant, so that's how I'm doing it for you guys. We're gonna start to add in our cheese at this point because one is cooled off a bit. Obviously it's still steaming, but it's not piping hot like it's about to reach a boil. We're gonna add our cheese a little bit at a time, literally just a handful. Give that a mix, make sure that's melted nicely, then add a little bit more. As you get to the end of that process, you can start to add it in a little bit more at a time, like a little, a bigger handful, so to speak. But what you don't want to do is just dump in a whole bag of cheese right out the gate. It's going to mess everything up. So a little bit at a time, constantly stirring, allowing the residual heat from the cream and the milk to melt the cheese. Quick reminder, guys, this recipe and all of my recipes can be found at mrmakeithappen.com. So I like to add my pasta to a mixing bowl, add the sauce to that, and then any little leftover bits of cheese from the grating process, we save those and then mix that in as well. That way, when you dig into the mac and cheese, there's little pockets of extra cheesy bites. That's gonna help with the flavor. That's also gonna help with your cheese pull that everybody loves for Instagram. Very important. As you can see, these pasta shapes, or this pasta shape, is holding that sauce beautifully. There's no other pasta that I know of that would make sense for mac and cheese that would do as good of a job as this to hold that sauce. We're gonna go ahead and add this to our casserole dish. The oven is preheated to 350 degrees. You're gonna get that in there. If you need to add any additional sauce, you can. The more sauce you add, the thinner your overall product's gonna be at the end. So it's kind of a personal preference thing. This is about right for me. I may add another spoonful just to be safe. And then we're gonna top it with that Colby Jack cheese, which melts beautifully. 350 for about 25 to 30 minutes. Then it's gonna be ready to go. All right, guys, the hardest part about this recipe is to allow it to cool a little bit before you dig into it because it looks so good. It smells great. I smell that smoked Gouda. It's got crispy edges, which I really like. A little brown on top, not burnt, just nice golden brown. Golden blanket, as my friend online says. I don't think he has a YouTube, otherwise I'll shout him out. One last reminder, guys, that if you want this recipe or any recipe from this channel, visit mrmakeithappen.com. Gotta have you, sorry. It's good. The sauce is just sitting in these little pasta buckets, just waiting for you.
Yeah. It's even better than last time, dude.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the best.